and a very warm welcome to worldwide audiences joining us today on Road to Space for flight VA259, baptized tonight State of the Art. Why? Because for Ariane 5's last flight of the year, its fairing will be adorned with a very original piece of art. But not only, the European launcher, which is taking off in approximately 20 minutes from Europe's spaceport in Kourou, has underneath its fairing 3 very special passengers on board. MTG-I1, the new Meteosat third-generation imager built in partnership with ECA. It's a remarkable satellite built by Thales Arianespace, which will revolutionize weather forecasting. And of course, Galaxy 35 and Galaxy 36, built by Maxar for Intelsat, 2 C-band telecom satellites that will provide Intelsat media customers in North America with contribution capacity to support high-profile events such as professional wrestling, boxing, auto racing, golf, baseball and collegiate and professional football. We will, of course, be talking to you in depth about these special passengers. But before we go any further, everybody, let's head over to the Jupiter control room where Stéphane Israël, Arianespace's CEO, is waiting for us. He should be coming up on the screen any minute. Just here we go. Hello, Stéphane, and welcome to Road to Space.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. So, Stéphane, today's mission is for 2 very well-known customers of Arianespace, EUMETSAT and Intelsat. What can you tell us about this mission today?
Yes, so about our customers, EUMETSAT will embark for the 14th time with us for MTG-I1 and with a very important partner as well, Thales Arianespace. It will be the 167th satellite we will orbit for Thales Arianespace. And regarding Intelsat, our partnership has started in 1983, and Galaxy 35 and Maxar, also a very important partner. It will be the 69 and 70 satellite we will orbit with Maxar. So you see, it is an old family of friends we will orbit tonight.
And an incredible track record. But what feels so special about tonight's launch, Stéphane?
Yes, 2 things are very special tonight. It is for the 3rd time the fact that we deliver an Ariane 5 in triple configuration. In upper position, we have the stack of Intelsat with Galaxy 35 and Galaxy 36. And in the lower position, we have the MTG-I1 satellite. So this is the first specificity. And the second one, this Ariane 5 has an overall performance of 10 tons, 972 kilos. It is the second more performant Ariane 5 we have ever launched.
And can you tell us how the mission will unfold?
Yes, so we are now a few minutes before the launch. All the parameters are green, the satellites are ready, the launcher is ready, the weather is green. So at 5:30 we will lift off, and the mission duration will be 34 minutes. We will first separate Galaxy 35 and 36 after 27 and 30 minutes, and then we will separate MTG after 34 minutes. And now we are just waiting for the final countdown for the liftoff.
Well, thank you, Stéphane, so much, and good luck with everything. We'll speak to you later. Well, we have a packed program for you tonight in Kourou, but now let's welcome Raphaël Chevrier, Business Developer Innovation from Arianespace, and Mathieu Chez from Ariane Programs at Ariane Group. Good evening to you both. So happy to see you both. Welcome back to Road to Space.
Good evening, Emma.
Good evening.
Mathieu, you will be talking to us essentially about the Ariane rocket, and you, Raphaël, of course, will be helping us understand the finer details of tonight's flight. So to kick off tonight's proceedings, we have put together some images of the different stages of flight VA259. So, Raphaël, I would like you to comment on them, please.
Yeah, of course. As Ariane 5 is sitting now on its launch pad in French Guiana, as we can see on the image, what we will see first is the ignition of the main stage, engine Vulcan, for about 7 seconds. I think the video is going to be displayed before the 2 lateral boosters actually ignite and the rocket soars into the sky.
Here we have the images.
Yeah, so only 2 minutes and 21 seconds after liftoff, the 2 boosters have done their job of providing the main thrust, and they are detached from the launcher, Shortly after that, we separate the fairing as we have crossed the limits of the atmosphere and we don't need to protect the satellites from the friction of the air anymore. Once the main stage has put the launcher on an intermediate orbit, it is also detached, and we enter what we call the second propelled phase of the flight with the ignition of the upper stage engine. It powers for about 16 minutes in order to raise speed, altitude, and to reach the transfer orbit, where the satellites are released. At this stage, the whole assembly is going to weight only 2% of the launcher's initial mass. And after some orientation maneuvers, we first separate the upper passengers. So first Galaxy 35 and then Galaxy 36, so one after the other. The little towers that we see on the motion pictures represent a chain of telemetry stations receiving data from Ariane 5 all along the flight path. Then we separate the dual launch structure SILDA before releasing the lower passenger MTG-I1. And then exactly like in a relay race, we pass the baton to the customers who will perform all the maneuvers necessary to get the satellites into their final geostationary orbit. And this is not really the end of the mission for Arianespace because we perform what we call a passivation of the upper stage, meaning that the remaining propellant of the tanks is expelled in order to prevent any risk of explosion in space. And once it's done, we can call it a mission terminated, a mission done.
Thank you, Raphael. So in less than 30 minutes, Ariane 5 will lift off from Kourou with all the teams who will be completely focused on the progression of this mission. We will have the privilege of gaining access to the temple of this spaceport, the Jupiter Control Room, the place where the launch operations are managed. And here with us tonight, we can see perhaps up on the screen representatives from the different space companies directly involved with tonight's mission. We have André Hubert Roussel, CEO of Ariane Group, I trust this is him up on the screen. Yes, I'm right. Hello, Mr. Daniel Nieuwenschander, Director of Space Transportation at ESA, who is up on the screen. And of course, Marianne Claire, Director of the Guiana Space Center. There she is, Directrice du CSG. Okay, so today's launch continues Intelsat's Galaxy fleet refresh plan, which began with Galaxy 30 in 2020 and carries the third pair of satellites launched over the last few years. These assets will provide occasional services to cover North America. We will learn more about these two very special passengers on board in the following report. So see you in a couple of minutes on Road to Space. We'll be back afterwards. More entertainment aimed at North America. Galaxy 35 and Galaxy 36 will soon provide high-performance media contribution capabilities and support live event coverage for Intelsat customers.
Our video neighborhoods around the world reach 2 billion viewers. These are 2 billion people who are informed, entertained, educated, and inspired by the content we bring to them on behalf of our customers.
Launched aboard Ariane 5, the two geostationary communication satellites are part of Intelsat's Galaxy fleet refresh plan that started with Galaxy 30, also launched on an Ariane 5 rocket back in 2020. As the newest additions to Intelsat's Galaxy fleet, Galaxy 35 and 36 will contribute to the most efficient media distribution system in North America. The Galaxy 35 and Galaxy 36 satellites will bring C-band contribution capacity to support high-profile events such as collegiate and professional football, auto racing, baseball, golf, boxing, and professional wrestling.
It really takes a lot of people and a lot of companies to design, build, test, launch, and then operate a satellite. We're very fortunate. We have some of the best people in the industry, and everybody contributed to this big success.
Built on Maxar's 1300 class bus, one of the most trusted commercial spacecraft platform and backed by Maxar's 60-plus years in satellite manufacturing, these two new satellites support Intelsat's successful, uninterrupted transition in the C-band spectrum.
and Maxar's commitment to customer success and improving life on Earth.
Well, in less than 15 minutes, Galaxy 35 and 36, the two satellites designed by Maxar for Intelsat, will launch into space on board Ariane 5. Arianespace has been working with Intelsat since the beginning of Ariane right through to Ariane 5, and soon Ariane 6, a remarkably long-standing partnership, Raphael.
Yeah, I mean, the teams are very used to work together. As a matter of fact, there is one Intelsat operator, I've been told, that is working on this campaign, and he was already there in 1983 on the first launch of an Intelsat satellite on an Ariane. And since then, we have launched on 60 different launchers. Intelsat satellites. So that's one launch every 8 months.
Incredible figure.
And it's not going to be stopped because we have announced the signature of a new launch contract on Ariane 6 to launch 2 Intelsat satellites, 41 and 44.
Well, we will also be bringing you news of Ariane 6 later in the program, but for now, let's stay focused on tonight's mission. Well, we've just been introduced to the two Intelsat passengers, but as you know, they are not the only passengers on board Ariane 5 tonight. Their fellow traveller is, how might I describe him? Well, he is really quite remarkable. Designed in the south of France by Thales Arianespace, MTG-I1 is the first of 6 new generation satellites designed to revolutionize weather forecasting for EUMETSAT. To find out more about him, let's watch this next report.
As the threat of extreme weather events is increasing, accurate weather forecasting and nowcasting is now more important than ever. What if the most complex geostationary system ever launched could help predict storms, save lives, and safeguard goods? This is the mission of MTG-I1 that will take off from Europe's spaceport today on Ariane 5. A highly anticipated launch for the very first Meteosat third-generation constellation satellite operated by the European operator EUMETSAT. It is developed by the European Space Agency with Thales Arianespace and more than 100 entities from all over Europe. A true symbol of team effort and dedication, of cutting-edge technology and innovation, this heralds a brand new era for weather forecasting.
This new generation is important, first of all, to guarantee continuity of data for a long period of time, to support users, not only public users, but everybody. Everybody means every citizens today, with more accurate information, with more spatial resolution, with more timely information for the relevance of the daily use of everybody.
Meteosat is part of our DNA at Thales Arianespace. We have been the trusted prime contractor for all the Meteosat satellites since the 70s. Meteosat first, second generation, and now third generation. Through Meteosat, Europe supplies the best meteorological satellites in the world, thanks to ESA and EUMETSAT, and plays a major role in world weather forecast. Our teams at Thales Arianespace are extremely proud to be part of this success story alongside with OHB and all other contributors.
These third-generation weather satellites will revolutionize nowcasting of weather in Europe and Africa by helping storm prediction and enhance weather forecasts.
MTG-I, and in due course the full MTG-I program, will be critically important for supporting nowcasting. Nowcasting is the forecasting over a short period of time, up to 6 hours, which is most important for intense, localized events, which in reality are very difficult to forecast on longer timescales.
The major thing that the MTG does is to do that. It picks up major storms in their infancy so we can actually take the necessary steps to ensure safety of life, prepare for the deluge that might happen.
The social and economic benefits of accurate forecasts are huge, and this is largely thanks to satellites.
Weather, and particularly severe weather events, take a huge toll on European society. In fact, in a recent survey of its members, the World Economic Forum identified that the key risks that countries see themselves as facing over the next 10 years are severe weather events and the failure to respond adequately to climate change.
ESA and EUMETSAT have been working together for over 4 decades to maintain Europe as a leader in satellite meteorology. MTG-I1 will shortly be joined by 2 other EUMETSAT satellites, MTG-S1 and MTG-I2. Together, they will provide essential weather and climate data for the next 2 decades to come.
Back to this highly sophisticated satellite later on in the program. In the meantime, I would like to focus on our launcher, Ariane 5, because tonight Ariane 5 will make its 3rd flight of the year, and also, guys, one of its last. The European Heavy Launcher made her first ever flight over 25 years ago, so this means Ariane has been in operation for, what, a quarter of a century, Mathieu? How would you sum up this heavy launcher, and for you, what memories will she leave behind? I say she.
No, it's impossible to summarize what is Ariane 5, but you have to remember it's a European success story made possible by 12 contributing countries with institutions, agencies, and of course, industry with unique competencies all over Europe. And if you look just at the performances, tonight we're about to launch 11 tons towards a very energetic orbit since we reach a velocity that's above 33,000 kilometers per hour. So just one memory, this launcher is the one that allowed the first images we got from the James Webb telescope, for instance.
Can I ask you also, what can you tell us about her evolution? She's obviously evolved a lot since her first mission.
Yes, that's really in the DNA of Ariane 5 and actually the Ariane family, to be evolving in an incremental way. If you compare actually the launcher we have tonight on the launch pad with the first version of Ariane 5, we almost gained 5 tons of performance. So it went through the introduction of new engines with the introduction of Vulcan 2 evolutions on the upper stage with the cryotechnic upper stage, but also storable the propellant at one point that allowed Galileo or ATV missions. So yes, that's really always a principle to push the limits as much as possible to be able to serve any mission.
We're now 30 seconds away from the DDO announcing the synchronized sequence. Yeah. The DDO is obviously the Range Operations Director. He will be announcing the synchronized sequence, and I would just like to ask you before this, you two, if you can explain what it is.
It's a last crucial step. It's a succession of operations aimed at giving more and more autonomy to the launcher. And for this, everything that you see on the board needs to remain green. The space base, the launch vehicle.
Attention pour la séquence finale lanceur.
So the DDO is about to announce.
Top, H0-7 minutes.
Yeah, so you see that everything is green, so the synchronous sequence has started.
Yes,
the countdown has commenced.
Yes, this is really the ideal situation in which you want to be. Everything is green. So what does it mean to give autonomy to the launcher? So we'll do the final steps to put it exactly in a flight configuration, which means the final loading of the tanks, the topping, as we say, also the pressurization of the tanks, and a few minutes, 3 minutes before launch, we'll give the launcher the exact date and time of the launch.
And as we want that, of course, 100% of all the parameters remain green, if one turns red during this synchronous sequence, then the clock will be set back to 7 minutes before the launch. Of course, we don't take any risk. We don't leave anything by chance.
What kind of problem could stop this synchronized sequence?
Well, I mean, like I said, like all the parameters that you see could turn red. For example, if there is one telemetry station that is used to follow the launcher during the flight, if it has an issue, then we need to fix it before actually launching, of course. We are checking all the safety means, make sure that it's in place in order to actually authorize the launch. Need to check that there is no issue on the satellites, of course, on the launcher, on the space base. So right now, everything is red, so we should be able to continue the countdown.
Well, before that, we're obviously watching Road to Space, and now we have some images from the events of the launch campaign in front of us, which are coming up on the screen at the moment. If you, Raphael or Mathieu, you could comment on them, please, because we're waiting.
The campaign started a month ago when the stages were shipped from our facilities from our group in Les Mureaux and Bremen towards Kourou. There you see the main cryogenic space that's getting out of its container, and then the boosters, each one of them holding 240 tons of solid propellant. And then the upper stage has been mated on top. And once this assembly is ready, you can move to another building so that the launcher meets the satellites.
So talking about the satellites, the MTG-I1 satellite arrived in French Guiana last October by boat. Also, it was transferred to preparation facilities where actually many operations are done. Satellite is removed from its container. It is integrated on its adapter. It is fueled. And like you see, these are very careful operations. On the other hand, the Galaxy 35 and Galaxy 36 arrived in late October, November, respectively, by plane in Cayenne. They were transferred in a special container by road to the Guyana Space Center in Kourou. Both satellites are also removed from the containers in clean rooms. They are carefully inspected. You saw it like turning on itself. You can see on the images the size of the operators. That's quite impressive. You can see the size of the satellites next to it. It's always a bit amazing.
We're talking about spacecrafts that weigh 3 tons, 3.6 tons. It's massive.
And so here, they are like checking that everything is perfectly right. And then the satellites are transferred in the final assembly building where they are meeting the launcher finally for the first time.
Yes, so we can you can see Galaxy G36 that's set on the dual launch structure, the SILDA, and the 35 on top, and finally the fairing is actually installed on this tiered cake. You know, it's like a wedding cake where you put everything together, and MTG in parallel is assembled directly on top of the upper stage.
And then only then, the whole SILDA, Galaxy, and fairing assembly is positioned on top of MTG, right as you see in the images. And I think, you can see the special drawing, the piece of art on the fairing.
Oh, that's right, I can see it.
It's small, but it's there.
And the final step that you see is when we roll out the launch table and get to the launch pad.
Guys, we are 2 minutes and 35 seconds away. All this hard work will shortly come to fruition when in a few seconds, Ariane 5 will take off on one of its last missions. The 3 passengers on Ariane 5 are a bit like us, impatiently looking forward to this journey into space. They are, of course, the 467th to 469th satellites to take off on board on the Ariane launcher. Well, I imagine the VIPs are now firmly installed on the balcony, guys, with the best view in the house, not only seconds away from liftoff. What can we expect tonight? The last time she took to the skies, I remember it was quite a show.
I mean, it's quite clear, the sky here, so I hope we'll have sort of the same spectacle. We might see the booster separation with our eyes. Maybe like last time we saw the fairing separation. I'm not sure we're going to see it in daylight. It really depends on the clouds and the angle of the camera, but I have like high hopes for tonight.
I feel that we might be extremely lucky to see all of this.
They're all running out onto the balcony.
And, there are some clouds, but from time to time, between 2 clouds, you can see actually these boosters getting separated, and I really hope that we'll get to see these 3 dots in the sky.
Well, Tamara Tezele, the Range Operations Director, is about to announce that we have hit the 1 minute mark before liftoff. Everything is set to go, guys. Best wishes to all the team. So let's sit back and enjoy the show, as they say.
À tout de DDO, attention pour moins 1 minute. Top à 0 moins 1 minute. À tous de DDO, attention pour le décompte final. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, top. Allumage Vulcain. Allumage des EAP décollage. La propulsion est nominale.
And we are off. How wonderful to see the mighty Ariane roaring across that equatorial sky. Definitely a launch to savor. We are now over 1 minute into the flight as she powers her way into space, heading east out over the Atlantic Ocean. Raphael, Mathieu, a reaction?
It's hard to get tired of it, right? I mean,
It's amazing.
look at this.
Yeah, I might be an engineer, but still I have emotions when I see that. No, that's amazing.
Like a ball of fire thrusting itself into
And we are extremely lucky because we can clearly see the rocket like blasting its way towards
Raphael,
space.
what do you have to tell us?
Well, I mean, everything is going to happen quite quickly now. You'll have in a few seconds the booster separations.
That's the first thing we have to look out for.
Yeah, they will have provided 90% of the overall thrust in order to literally escape the gravity pull of the Earth.
And with the clear sky, we'll see them well.
I hope so. I think we will. And then you will have the separation of the fairing when we have crossed the limits of the atmosphere. It's protected the satellite from the friction of the air, but also from the noise generated at the booster's ignition. And then we will have the separation of the main cryogenic stage. And here you
we
can
go.
see
And
the
yes,
booster separation.
yeah, and this
We
is,
see it so clearly
we see it
So it's
extremely
confirmed
clearly.
visually and also in our
by the DDO.
by the DDO.
Brilliant.
And okay, so the sky is perfectly clear, so it's perfect conditions to
So,
see.
Mathieu, without these two boosters, the launcher is obviously now a lot lighter. So, than it was at takeoff. Its load has been lightened by how many tons, and why is this necessary, even essential? Does lighter mean faster?
Yeah, it was 775 tons on the launch pad. Now it's about 156 tons because we got rid of these empty boosters. Imagine that we managed to get rid of about 500 tons of propellant in about 2 minutes and 20 seconds. But this is the amount of energy that you need to go to space. And this is a principle. You get rid of any useless mass to provide maximum acceleration to the satellites. And now we've got fairing separation.
Fairing separation.
And we actually can see it, I think. So we have, again, visually the confirmation and also by the DDO.
That's brilliant news.
We can actually see the two halves of the fairing getting separated. That's magical.
Those images are incredible.
And this is the last time, by the way, we see the piece of art that was on the fairing.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Raphael. As you can see on the screen, computers are generating now perhaps CGI images for us to see what's happening. It will be coming up in a minute. We have 5 minutes, not now, because obviously the skies are so clear, we're seeing everything. We have 5 minutes now before our next milestone. So let's focus on our launcher, Ariane 5. Mathieu, I'm turning to you. Could we come back to the particularities of this heavy launcher? It is the reference in space
La
transportation.
trajectoire est nominale.
Yes, internally we call it the legend.
The legend.
the living
legend.
The living legend. I mean, for most of the engineers of my generation, somehow we grew up with this launcher, and personally, it directly inspired my career and my inspiration to go to space. But think about some of the missions it allowed. One in particular, in 2004, the launch of Rosetta, and that's how for the first time we managed to land
La
a probe
propulsion
on
est
a
nominale
comet.
depuis le stage
So
du
that's
calme.
really what it's able to do. Or we service the space station 5 times with the automated transfer vehicle. Again, I mean, Ariane is almost a member of any of our European families. And actually, Raphael spent Christmas with Ariane, right?
Yeah, it was last year, yes. I was lucky enough to be in French Guiana, and that was obviously a very, very emotional launch. It's very hard to describe the tension it was before the launch.
Holding
How to describe
one's
also
breath.
the tension released after we got the confirmation of the separation of the satellite, and we witnessed the deployment of the solar
That
panel.
must have been incredible.
In real time. It was really amazing. And it's also, I have to say, very hard to describe the admiration that I have for my colleagues, Arianespace, Ariane
Obviously.
Group, and all the teams that were involved in this launch that made history for Ariane 5, I think.
Well, of course, tonight Ariane 5 has 3 very special passengers on board. MTG-I1, the first imaging satellite of the Meteosat third generation program, and of course Galaxy 35 and 36, 2 communication satellites built by Maxar in California. Mathieu, what is the maximum number of satellites that Ariane 5 can carry? I've seen 1, 2,
Yes,
3.
a typical mission for Ariane 5 would be what we call a dual launch. And actually, the SILDA means dual launch system in French. But tonight we have 3 payloads because we're really capable of adapting this launcher to any needs. If you remember, too, we were able to deploy 4 Galileo satellites when necessary on Ariane 5. So that's really the philosophy I described, adapting the launcher to the customer's needs.
And with Ariane 6, we will have even more flexibility and versatility because there are some dedicated structures that are being developed under the fairing, for example, in order to accommodate small satellites. It's called the multi-launch service. We have dedicated carrying structures to deploy many satellites of a single constellation at a time in a single flight. We gain lots of flexibility with Ariane 6.
A lot of things to come, and we're looking forward to that. Well, thanks for all those interesting souvenirs and fun facts. The next important step will be the cutoff of the main core stage, the extinction and the ignition of the upper stage.
Yeah, the ignition of the upper stage is absolutely key for the rest of the mission, and it's always a bit tricky to actually ignite liquid stage in the emptiness of space.
I imagine.
Yeah.
Yes, we're going to go through a series of events, and as you can see, it's really going really fast. First, of course, the cutting off of the main stage that's propelled by the Vulcan 2.2 engine. 2.1 is for Ariane 6, sorry.
La propulsion est nominale, le pilotage est calme.
Yeah, and everything's nominal. The separation of the upper stage
Acquisition
from
de
the
la
stage.
télémesure par la station natale au Brésil.
Yes, and then the ignition of the stage. And as you said, it's technically it's very challenging. It's not like igniting a cryotechnic stage on the ground. You have to do it in space with very, very particular thermal conditions. And of course, you're in 0G, so your propellant might go everywhere.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Mathieu. Now we're waiting for Tamara Tezelé, the Range Operations Director, to confirm the next important steps of the mission. So we have...
La propulsion est nominale.
So that's an important information. Everything is going nominal.
Well, that
the
is
trajectory
very
is nominal.
important.
The launcher is behaving like it was planned.
Behaving well.
So it's very important.
And I cannot believe that the sky was so clear that we could see.
I know, we still haven't kind of quite got over that. That was wonderful. Well, we are now looking forward to the cryogenic main core stage cutoff.
Yep.
And then there is a series of we'll lose the signal at Galileo, the cryogenic main core stage separation.
Yes.
Do you have any news in your earpiece?
We're waiting for
the
the
3D
confirmation.
images are showing.
Séparation EPC.
So
Okay.
it's confirmed. The separation of the main stage is confirmed, and we are waiting for
Allumage ESC.
Wow.
what was
Okay.
just said, the ignition of the upper stage. So that's a very important step.
We're halfway there.
Yeah,
So all going
we're going
according
there.
to the plan.
So far, so good. All is going to plan. Well, I'm very happy about that. Well, Ariane is heading for a geostationary orbit 36,000 kilometers from Earth. Is this a fairly standard mission for you? What is at stake
Well, I mean,
tonight?
we are used to launch in geostationary orbit, but every mission is very unique. It's the satellites are different, the trajectory is slightly different, the performance of the launcher is different. And it's years of work for all the team, for the satellite team, for the manufacturing of the satellite. the launch contract signature, typically 2 years before the launch, and then all the mission preparation, especially on the launcher side.
Yes,
La propulsion est nominale, le pilotage est calme.
Yeah, it's only a 40 minutes launch, but of course it took years and months of preparation upstream, and you only see the accomplishment and the result of a lot of things that were manufactured, integrated perfectly.
Well, congratulations to all your teams. Thanks. We will continue to follow this mission very closely until the separation, which we're all waiting for, with bated breath, of our 3 satellites. Galaxy 35, of course, will be the first of our passengers to separate from the launcher in roughly 20 minutes from now, followed closely by Galaxy 36. Then it will be the turn of MTG-I1's turn. Well, guys, we will be living these exciting moments. I will be living these exciting moments with you, both live. But for the moment, let's look to the future, and a not so distant one. We've already looked back at the career of Ariane 5, but what is the latest news on the much anticipated launch of Ariane 6? I'm sure you're all, like me, dying to hear the latest news. And so I'm turning to Mathieu, who will give us all the answers with these new images.
Yeah, it's been an exciting year on Ariane 6 for the ECA, Arianespace, Ariane Group and CNES teams with the preparation of what we call the combined test. What you see there are a fully representative version of the launcher with the upper stage and the lower stage that were integrated in Kourou, and you can see that now the operations are performed horizontally, and you can see how easy it is almost to join these two launchers. In parallel, we prepared also fully representative mock-ups of the boosters of Ariane 6 that you can see there. By the way, one of them is fully filled with sugar.
Sugar?
Yes. That's,
you're kidding me.
Yeah, we will not ignite it, otherwise. So once the 2 stages are integrated together, they've been transferred horizontally, and you can see that at the end of the road, our road to space on Ariane 6, you've got this new mobile gantry that will be on top of the launch pad of Ariane 6. We now do the integration of the launcher directly on the launch pad. Operationally, it's a really game changer for us. It will ease everything. And we only go vertical once we are on the launch pad. So you can see this very first time we rehearsed this operation, and everything went very smoothly, nominally, as we say.
That's good to know.
You hear a lot about nominal. And now we're ready to perform combined tests, which is really when the launcher meets the launch pad. But in parallel, we've got also a very, very important test campaign. Now we are in DLR facilities in Germany, Lampolshausen. We're ignited for the first time a fully representative upper stage with the Vinci engine for 45 seconds. And we've got more tests to be performed. And finally, something's missing on top of this launcher.
What is missing?
You must have recognized it, is our brand new fairing, 20 meters high. Yes.
Okay.
And you see the last rehearsal was really to check that we can hoist correctly this fairing on top, and there again, everything went very smoothly. And yes, I'm always very impressed with this mobile gantry. It's about the weight of the Eiffel Tower, except that you can roll it back when you need to launch. But
all I know is we are all waiting impatiently for it to make its inaugural flight. Sorry.
And look at this final image that we managed to get at the end of this year. Yes.
Well. Yeah. As Ariane 5 picks up speed to climb higher and higher, it continues its flight path with 3 very special satellites on board, including MTG-I1, as you know, the 3rd generation Meteosat satellite built by Thales Arianespace, with monitor climate and weather changes in Europe and Africa. Now, to show the strategic importance for the African people of such a launch, Ariane 5 has taken off, as we mentioned earlier, decorated on its head, on its fairing, a unique work of art. That is why the flight tonight, VA259, has been baptized state-of-the-art. This artwork is part of ASAP, the African Space Art Project. And to find out more, let's watch this next project. Report.
Under Ariane 5's fairing is MTG-I1, EUMETSAT's new weather satellite. On the other side of the launcher's cone shape, memory of today, memory of the future. This is in fact an artwork created by 3 African artists. It is part of the African Space Art Project, ASAP. This painting symbolizes the link between the European operator EUMETSAT and the African continent.
Through this artwork, the artists have demonstrated a link between Africa, space, and climate change. These three things are at the heart of what EUMETSAT is about. I'm incredibly proud that EUMETSAT has been a part of this project.
The collaboration between these three artists, Geraldine Taubé, Michel Ekaba, and John David Encott, is also a tool to raise people's awareness about Africa's climate challenges.
C'est quelque part la signature artistique, symbolique, historique du continent africain qui va créer une relation tout à fait particulière avec l'espace parce qu'il a besoin d'observer de l'espace le changement climatique qui l'impacte de façon très très forte alors que c'est le continent qui aujourd'hui émet le moins de CO2 dans le monde entier.
Pour nous, l'art était une manière de faire passer tous ces messages en même temps. À la fois, ces satellites vont répondre à des besoins vitaux, et à la fois, c'est aussi un signe d'une innovation technologique et d'une aspiration de l'Afrique d'avoir un vrai rôle dans tout ce qui est spatial.
Selected by a jury including representatives of EUMETSAT, Arianespace and the African Union, the collaborative artwork carries a message of hope, harmony and sustainability.
Une chose que je retiens quand même lors de ce travail, l'impossibilité a permis le possible. D'où justement aussi le titre de cette œuvre, Mémoire d'aujourd'hui, Mémoire du futur. On a l'impression que nos différences ne nous permettent pas réellement de faire des choses. Mais justement, ce sont ces différences qui font la force de ce que nous sommes aujourd'hui et qui apportent un plus dans le développement du monde dont nous rêvons.
A world where space is used in a sustainable way to support the Earth and prepare for tomorrow.
What an interesting report. Well, Raphael, is this the first time a work of art adorns the fairing of the launcher?
Well, usually you have company's logo on the fairing, which is good, but now we have an artistic dimension to it, to the launch. The project dates back to 2018, and I had the chance, actually, the team had the chance to see the piece of art 3 meters long when it was exposed in Arianespace's offices before it got installed on the fairing. But I think this is not the first time that the Ariane launcher is involved in artistic projects.
Yes, no, but because this launcher is not inspiring engineers like me only, but also artists. And we've set up very, very interesting collaborations with some of the artists. For instance, I'm wearing an Avenir hoodie, which is actually from the French singer Orelsan.
I noticed that.
T-shirt.
Yeah, it's directly...
I look forward to my T-shirt and my sweatshirt afterwards.
Yeah, we'll talk about this later.
Okay, we'll talk about it later.
But it's directly inspired by what we do, and also for the 40th anniversary of Ariane, we got an entire album composed by a musician.
Wow.
Very inspiring music.
That's brilliant.
Yep.
Well, let's get back to our mission at hand, guys. In about 15 minutes, as you know, MTG-I1 will separate from our launcher. This exceptional satellite built by Thales Arianespace for Maxar will eventually revolutionize weather forecasting. It will be placed in geostationary orbit. But, Raphael, I have a question. I thought that geostationary orbit is mainly populated with telecommunication satellites.
No, it's true that with Ariane 5 we are used to send
par la station de Libreville au Gabon.
To send telecommunication satellites on the geostationary orbit, dedicated to broadcast, broadband connectivity, and many more applications to connect each other. It is indeed not every day that we launch an Earth observation / scientific satellite on this such distant orbit. The asset of the geostationary orbit is that it covers a large surface of the Earth because it's like 36,000 kilometers from the Earth. So you have like a global view, so you can measure like in a global scale for MTG, lots of things happening in the atmosphere. And as a matter of fact, you only need 3 satellites to cover the whole surface of the Earth in this geostationary art. And we will launch with Ariane 6 2 more MTG satellites, new generation of MTG satellites, the S1 and the I2. This is going to be with Ariane 6.
Well, before we go on, in order to be able to properly exploit the numerous data from the exceptional satellite, Meteosat had to train its users, and there are many of them. More details in this next report, Next Tech, EUMETSAT.
MTG-I1 will soon start a new mission. revolutionizing nowcasting of high-impact weather in Europe and Africa. The first data to be collected will considerably improve our daily life. EUMETSAT carefully trained and prepared future users to achieve these results.
We'll have 50 times more data coming from the new satellite compared to what we have now. So we need to handle all this data and make it accessible.
EUMETSAT is playing a crucial role to ensure that the data from MTG satellites will help to protect people and property as fast and as efficiently as possible.
Based on the new data, we'll be able to issue more precise warnings of severe weather. That saves lives, that saves journey time on your motorway, that saves transport costs, that saves airport costs. It also saves costs related to flooding, for example. So we'll be able to save lives and property based on better forecasts at the very short term, which means in the next hour, in the next 2 hours, in the next 6 hours.
With its brand new technology, MTG satellites will provide key data for the years to come.
Some of the data has new information in it, which we don't have from other geostationary orbits over Europe, and that's really very exciting. We are not having that from anywhere else.
It's European satellites. It is better satellites than we had before. They have a higher resolution, which means that we can see more details in the images. This is all very exciting because it brings a lot of potential, a lot of new possibilities.
This data will also be an important source of information for the aviation field, where nowcasting is essential.
If the visibility goes very low or the cloud base gets very low, they need to do different kind of procedures. They cannot have so many planes moving on the airport, and they kind of need to get ready for that one. And then the nowcasting comes in, and we try to warn their airfields about those things.
After years of preparation, MTG-I1 is now on its way to geostationary orbit to help us all to better anticipate tomorrow's weather.
MTG-I1 is on its way effectively to destination at 36,000 kilometers from Earth. It will be put into orbit in a little over 10 minutes now. But before that, our launch has to complete a number of important steps. Raphael.
I mean, the first one is the cutoff of the upper stage engine to prepare the first satellite separation, Galaxy 35. It is very important to do it on time because it's really driving the satellite injection accuracy, and it has an impact on the rest of the satellite lifetime in space.
Yeah, 1 second too early or 1 second too late, you're not on the same orbit.
I imagine.
Yeah. And I mean, Ariane 5 had a reputation for being very precise because last year, when we injected very precisely the James Webb Space Telescope, it allowed the telescope to double its life expectancy in space because it didn't have to use as much as propellant to reach the final orbit. So from 5 years to 10 years of operations, which is quite convenient.
Well, before the separation of the first satellite, I would really like to have another look at the highlights of the liftoff that we just watched and experienced. If one of you could comment on the images, which should be coming up, the replay of the launch tonight, which was quite fantastic.
I mean, we will comment, but we will also watch it again ourselves because it's very, very impressive.
Very fast. You know, the first event is really we separate these cryo arms that are fitting to your upper stage.
Acquisition de la télémesure par
liquid
la
oxygen,
station
liquid
marine du
hydrogen.
Kenya.
You ignite the Vulcan engine, and once everything's ready, you can ignite the solid propellant boosters, and it's lift off.
And we need to check that the Vulcan engine is working.
Yes, of course.
Once the boosters are ignited, there is no turning back.
Yes. That's why it's so tricky when we ignite.
It was such a clear sky.
That's what I told you. It's maybe one of the most beautiful launches.
Really, it's one of the most beautiful you've ever seen.
I've attended so far because the fact that we managed to see the fairing separation so clearly is quite amazing.
Yes.
What a show.
Well, in a moment, Ariane 5 will acquire the signal from Malindi in Kenya, or Kenya, depending from where you come from. This is also the signal for the much-awaited countdown to the separation of the first Galaxy 35 satellite. Is it not, Raphael?
Yeah. So there are lots of concentration. Right now we are like raising altitude quite drastically. So we are at a speed of about 9 kilometers per second.
Yes.
So it's quite fast.
No,
we are flying over Africa right now. And so lots of concentration before the last steps, because like I said, it's a combination of years of work from all the teams.
Yeah, but imagine that in less than 30 minutes, we managed to fly over the Atlantic Ocean and now over Africa. We're really standing on the east coast of
That is just
Africa.
quite incredible.
Yeah, but that tells a lot about the orders of magnitude that we're dealing with with Ariane. I told you the velocity we'll reach is higher than 33,000 kilometers per hour.
Tous les paramètres à bord sont normaux.
Was it easy assembling these 3 satellites under the same fairing for this flight?
Well, I mean, so it was really a meeting of 2 different worlds, with telecommunications satellite on one hand and Earth observation / scientific satellite on the other hand. So they have different constraints, and especially on the cleanliness aspects. So we had to be very careful in actually preparing the satellites in the clean rooms and during the encapsulation under the fairing, because you know that one single speck of dust, especially for optical elements, could alter the functioning of the satellites in space.
I think
Extinction ESC.
Yes, we were waiting for this
Tamara
confirmation.
Tesley, she just told us.
Yes, that's the upper stage has been cut off. It means that we've reached our final orbit. So now we're entering another phase.
Are we in the ballistic phase?
The space ballet.
The space ballet.
Yeah.
I love that term.
The upper stage is like performing slight orientation maneuvers to separate the first satellite in a specific direction. But we'll see also different maneuvers to be realized in between each separations in order to make sure that there is a right distancing between the satellites in order to prevent any collision, of course.
Well, in 1 minute, of course, there will be the separation of the satellite. G35, thank you, Raphael. We're all waiting eagerly en route to space for this separation.
Point de réception
This
pour la station
C-band
de télémesure de
telecommunications
Libreville.
satellite was, of course, built by Maxar for Intelsat. Until then, what are the final important stages that we should be all looking out for?
Well, I mean, we will witness the separation of Galaxy 35, quickly followed by the separation of Galaxy 36. Then we'll have the separation of the dual launch structure, the SILDA, which is the black box right under it. And then we don't see it on the image, on the 3D image, but there is the MTG-I1 that is going to be separated in the final stage. And then the mission is not over for Arianespace, because we perform passivation of the upper stage, and then it's going to be the end of the mission.
And separation should be right now for Galaxy 35. We're waiting for the confirmation.
Séparation G35.
Okay, so it's a half a relief for the customer now.
Confirmed. Happy faces, thumbs up.
You see
Everyone's
happy faces,
smiling.
but also concentration,
Yeah.
because
Thank
it's
you.
definitely not over.
Yeah.
Now let's head to the fishbowl, where we should be able to see, well, I don't know who he is, but Valérie Boucher. She is Intelsat project manager at Arianespace and the person who coordinated all the internal activities to ensure that the launch went smoothly. It must be such a relief for her when I wouldn't even want to be in her place. But this is, of course, not the end of the mission, is it, guys?
No, it's not, because we said, there are many separations to come. It's also only for the customer the start of the journey, because they have to check that the satellite is doing perfectly, and also to bring the satellite from 1,000 kilometers from the surface of the Earth to 36,000 kilometers. So the journey. So this
Here
is
we have Valérie Boucher, Intelsat project manager, and of course before we had Tamara Tesley, who is the Rangers, the DDO, the Rangers Operation Director. Good evening, Valérie Boucher, and congratulations. Galaxy 36 is just about to be separated from Ariane 5, joining its brother Galaxy 35. Raphael, the first 4 satellites of the Galaxy constellation built by Maxar for Intelsat are not positioned in the same orbits. Why is this?
Well, I mean, they are quite close to each other. They are all positioned on the geostationary orbit, and they are all facing the North American area, which is like a quite big one. So in order to cover everything, you need several satellites to be placed on this geostationary orbit in order to provide services also for remote areas. We know that In the US, there are lots of deserts, mountains, so satellites are key assets to be complementary to terrestrial solutions.
Well, it's time to take a look at what's going on some 600 kilometers now above our heads. What is the status of Ariane 5? Raphael, I think we're waiting for the separation.
Yeah, and you see that we are still raising altitude. We went from 940 kilometers to 1,500 kilometers in only 3 minutes. And we are now about to witness the separation of the second upper stage passenger, Galaxy 36.
G36.
In about 30 seconds. Just to give you also another order of magnitude, keep in mind that the International Space Station orbits around the Earth at only 450 or 400 kilometers. So we're way above it.
And before each flight, we make sure that we don't collide with the ISS, which is very important.
Okay.
That's part of the calculation.
Nothing is left to change.
Well, of course, we have our DDO, the Range Director's Operation, Tamara Tesley, up on the screen, who is about to announce any minute. 4 seconds.
Séparation G36.
So we have, so now we see happy faces.
Happy faces again.
For the
Brilliant.
upper passenger.
And I like the way they do it. You know, it's 1 sub up for the first satellite and 2 thumbs up for the second. Yes,
and then 3. Yeah.
Well,
Very
that is
important
just
step,
fantastic news.
But this is not over because we still have another passenger to
What is the next? I'm getting very nervous.
Well, we'll see the SILDA, the dual launch structure that is going to be separated. It's also quite tricky.
That's very, very tricky. So you have to separate the structure from the upper stage, and we technically call it an espresso capsule because because of its.
It looks like it.
It looks like an espresso capsule. What else?
George, stop it.
Yes, and but actually you have to make sure that you're able to separate it very smoothly. It's pushed by a set of springs, and everything is computed before so that it's correctly balanced. Because any unbalance could harm the satellite that's right below the MTG satellite that's right below this structure. So that's very, very.
And when it's on the ground, it has to support also quite a large mass of the upper passenger.
Yeah, you're
it's
right.
Like 6.3 tons of the 2 Galaxy. So yeah, it has
and it's a very light structure that has to withstand this impressive mass that it has on top.
Well, now in 10 seconds, the SILDA should be...
And should be separated, and we'll wait for this confirmation that it occurred.
We're waiting for the DDO.
And you can really see on the animation there.
Séparation SILDA.
All right. So confirmation that the SILDA has been successfully separated, and you can see that we are still gaining lots of altitude in 2 minutes. We've gained we have now come close to 2,000 kilometers of altitude.
My question is there going to be a SILDA on Ariane 6?
Yes.
That's what all my space friend geeks want to know.
Yes, we will still need to perform some dual launches or triple launches as we have today. But we have a new dual launch structure, a new DLS, that will be actually larger and higher. So now we can really accommodate bigger satellites on top and below the DLS.
It helps us to propose many different...
Can I just interrupt you? We have now Sébastien Nomé in the fishbowl. He is EUMETSAT's program director for Arianespace. Good evening. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, I was saying that we have lots of configurations that we can imagine under the Ariane 6 fairing. This is probably also why we have been so successful in selling Ariane 6 so far, because we sold 28 Ariane 6 already, including 18 for famous constellation. So we are really looking for the first flight of Ariane 6.
I got the message, Raphael.
With only a few seconds to go before the separation of MTG-I1, everyone must be holding their breath now. I'd like to remind you that MTG-I is the first of 6 satellites dedicated to weather forecasting. We are now waiting for the DDO, Tamara Tesley.
Séparation MTG-I1.
Brilliant.
Nice.
I want to applaud with them. Brilliant. They must be so happy.
3 thumbs up.
Now you can see the happy faces.
Everyone that we talked about earlier, they're all there. I mean, how wonderful for them. This must be so satisfying after months, years.
Yeah.
What teamwork.
No, again, it's years and years of work.
Years
but
and
also, I'm sorry, I have to say that it's only the beginning of the journey for the customer, because they have to take...
It's an exciting one.
They take the lead now from their mission control center, and they will perform maneuvers, in-orbit checks in order to get their satellite into their final geostationary orbit.
They are so happy. I'm happy for them.
Look at this.
This is just marvelous.
Yeah, now we need to wait for them to make contact with their spacecraft and monitor the entire health status of each one of these spacecraft.
And for the upper stage, we still need to make the passivation, so release the remaining of the propellant in order to prevent any risk of explosion in space. So there are still some maneuvers to be performed on our side in order to call it a mission success.
But we're obviously now in the fishbowl in the Jupiter control room. Stefan is going to confirm this the successful mission, this mission completed. But can you talk to us about some of the images coming up while we wait for Stefan?
Well, no, I mean, everybody is very happy. Maybe I can add that...
Okay, what kind of anecdote can you give us? You've been there, you know what it's like.
I've been there once with customers that were visiting Kourou for the first time. So we were actually attending a launch for 2 other customers. But I can tell you that when you're there, you are really living the situation, and we were in the same boat. Everyone, and the tension there is amazing. And I can really tell you that time doesn't flow at the same pace.
So last Christmas, during the launch of the James Webb Space Telescope, people were wearing hats. Christmas
really?
hats.
A Christmas hat?
Yeah.
Well, it's not Christmas yet. Stefan Israel, the CEO of Arianespace, will be with us in 2 seconds. I think he's been mic'd. Oh, Stefan, welcome back, and congratulations to all of your teams.
Yes, I think tonight it's a wonderful success for Ariane and all the Ariane family, Ariane Group, our prime contractor, CNES, which is responsible for the design authority, Arianespace team for sure, and for sure a success for our customers and our satellite manufacturers partners. So it's a very nice end of afternoon here in the Jupiter.
Well, you all look thrilled. I'm so happy for you, and we're very happy here in the studio. So what's next here in Kourou for tonight and for the days to come before the end of the year, Stefan? Can you give us a little idea?
So, yes, in a few minutes we are going to leave the floor to our customers and partners. We have also 2 French ministers with us tonight, and they are going to speak at the end of this broadcast emission. And in the Guiana Space Center, we will be back in 1 week on December the 20th for our last launch of the year with Vega for a very important customer and very important satellites, Airbus, 2 Pléiades Neo. It will be in just 1 week.
Well, thank you, Stefan, so much. Enjoy, and congratulations again to all of you and your teams. Thank you, Stefan.
Thank you. Thank you.
Stay with us, everyone, because we are now going to pass the microphone over to Gregory Gavrois, Chief Brand and Communications Officer at Arianespace. He will be interviewing 3 important officials from EUMETSAT, ESA, and Thales Alenia Space. There is Phil Evans, Director General of EUMETSAT, Simonetta Kelly, Director of Earth Observations at ESA, and Hervé Deret, CEO from Thales Alenia Space. Dear Gregory, are you there? He must be getting mic'd up.
Yes, Emma.
I can hear you. You're with us.
I'm here along with our, not only official, I would say heroes of the day, along with their teams. I'm here with Phil Evans, indeed. Phil, what does this important satellite represent to you tonight?
Well, right at this moment, a very great many things, but in particular, a demonstration of what European collaboration can really achieve. A demonstration of European excellence in space. For EUMETSAT, a critical moment, but more importantly, a critical moment for our member weather services and the communities and industries who will be better protected because of it. And finally, the start of some very hard work for us. Over the next 9 to 12 months, we'll be commissioning the satellite ready for operational status.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Phil. Simonetta, this program, MTG, and not only the satellite of the night, represents a lot to ESA. You told me earlier today that there are two important words to you in this program, innovation and cooperation, right?
Yes, innovation, because we start the next step of meteorology forecast together with EUMETSAT, with very advanced instruments on board, with higher volumes of data, higher resolution, and certainly faster and better weather prediction for extreme weather events. It represents collaboration among member states of ESA, of EUMETSAT, and particularly a good model of cooperation between EUMETSAT and ESA the last 40 years and the next 20 years, but also good work with industry, the European ones, Thales and Arianespace, that were the prime of this project, but also OHB, also Leonardo, and 70 companies that have worked with us. So great success for European cooperation overall, and also with the support of the member states of the agency, which I would like to thank. And last but not least, a big thank you also to the ESA teams who worked hard on this program for the last 14 years.
Congratulations to the teams, indeed. Thank you, Simonetta. Hervé Deré, you lead the teams in charge of designing and manufacturing these satellites of the night. What does it represent to you and your teams?
It's a very important moment for us, for all of us. And by the way, thank you to Arianespace for safely delivering this satellite
Thanks
tonight.
to the teams, yeah.
Beautiful launch. Congrats to Stéphane and to all the teams that have been involved. So this is a defining moment for us. MTG-I1 is the first one of this new third generation satellites. It's a very complex program. As a matter of fact, it has not been a piece of cake, as we all know. In fact, we are really talking about cutting-edge technology. It turns out that our teams have been involved and very committed to this program with passion and a very strong commitment. I'd like to thank ESA and EUMETSAT for the team spirit and for putting your trust in our teams. This is extremely important for us, and I think it's this team spirit that has, let's say, provoked, or that is at the origin of this common success. So thank you very much for all of that. Now, in a few minutes, we will have a communication with the satellite from our Fucino center, and then from that time, our operation center in Italy, in Fucino, will operate the satellite up to its let's say, final orbit, and we will start a long commissioning period with EUMETSAT, a nine months commissioning period, and I think before end of 23, the objective is to have this satellite in service.
We cross the fingers for the acquisition, the successful of MTG-I1. Thank you very much, Hervé. We go back to you, Emma, in Paris before coming back here in Kourou to talk about the Intelsat satellites.
Well, thank you to all of you and congratulations on this successful mission, Gregory. We'll be staying with us, of course, on Rotor Space to interview Jean-Luc Freudliger, Senior Vice President of Space Systems at Intelsat. He's just being mic'd up now, so we should have Gregory once again on the screen. Gregory, are you still there? Can you hear us?
Yes, I'm here, Emma, and I'm now here with Jean-Luc Freudliger. He is indeed the Senior Vice President Space System with Intelsat. So, Jean-Luc, we have talked a lot about two satellites, Galaxy 35, Galaxy 36, during our show. Could you please come back on what's their mission and precisely what they bring back to Earth?
So, merci, Gregory. Our Galaxy 35 and Galaxy 36 satellites are part of our North American fleet refresh. They'll be used by our media customers to provide live broadcasting of news, entertainment, and sports events. Very important for us. As you know, it takes a lot of dedicated and talented people to build, test, launch, and then operate a communication satellite. So I'd like to thank first Maxar, who once again provided two outstanding satellites to Intelsat. I'd like to thank our customers who entrusted the services to us. There's a reason why we exist. I'd like to thank all the team at Intelsat that worked on this project, directly or indirectly. This is really a team effort. And finally, I'd like to thank Arianespace. Right? They delivered our 63rd and 64th Intelsat satellite, launched by an Arianespace launch vehicle, more than any other launch service provider that we've used in the past. So we started our cooperation in 1983, and since then we've used Ariane 1, Ariane 2, Ariane 3, Ariane 4, Ariane 5. This is our last Ariane 5 launch, so it's time to say goodbye, farewell, thank you Ariane 5, and we will be back. So see you soon, Ariane 6.
Surely be back soon. Thank you very much, Jean-Luc. Back to you again, Emma, and we'll be back with a surprise here in Kourou in a few moments.
Brilliant. Thank you, Monsieur Fröhlinger, and congratulations once again. Well, Gregory, as we say, will now have the privilege to pass his microphone on to none other than Sylvie Retailleau, Minister of Higher Education and Research of France, Jean-François Carenco, Minister of the Overseas, and of course, Philippe Baptiste, President of CNES. We're looking forward to hearing what they have to say and their reaction on Road to Space. Gregory?
Oui, Emma, alors on va basculer en français. Yes, Emma. Let's switch to French for this segment. I have three VIP guests. Mr. Baptiste, Chair of the CNES, Mrs. Sylvie Retailleau, Minister of Higher Education and Research, and Philippe, as President of the CNES. This is a whole journey for your teams around what space can bring to the citizens today and in the future. Could you tell us? Yes, it's always an adventure for the CNES, but also for the CSG, the Guiana Space Center, and it's always a new emotion to see the launch of Ariane 5. We are impatiently waiting for Ariane 6, and it's always moving to watch a launch, and it was a perfect launch. It's also very interesting to see what those new satellites will bring to us for the telecommunication satellites that are crucial for all the uses every day all over the planet, but it's also a very high technology satellite, which was said earlier. It's really a high technology satellite that will allow us to understand and observe extreme weather events, which also means being able to monitor storms, extreme rains, so we can really see the impact and the benefits that we can get for the population. So that's really a link between space, high technology, and also services to the public, to all citizens. Yes, thank you very much, Philippe. Mr. Minister, I think you've been through a lot here in Guyana, especially around innovation. This is also an innovation, right? Great emotion, and it's an honor to be here. I may be old, but I never saw a launch of Ariane, so I really want to thank you, thank the CNES, thank Arianespace and the technicians. But most importantly, in my position as Minister of the Overseas, and we represent the government with my colleague, and I want to thank all the people who collaborate, the police, the military, the municipality of Kourou, all the people here. I am proud that this happens here. What happens in Kourou is a great image for Guyana. The government, myself, and the President of the Republic are going to try and push this. We're somehow going to use you, but you deserve it. We'll have a chance to talk about this later. Mrs. Minister, I think this was a premiere for you as well. So, for Ariane 5, you met the Arianespace teams, the ESA teams, the CNES teams. So this Ariane 5 launch, what did it represent for you this day, Mrs. Minister?
This day was just wow. It was really the materialization of the hard work that everyone has done. Everyone has said so, but I think we need to pay tribute to this collective work between, of course, industrial, Arianespace, CNES, ESA, and of course all of the companies that contributed to Ariane, as well as the satellite companies for weather forecast, for telecommunications. This morning I visited the launch pads of Ariane 5 and 6, and it's this complementarity, this state-of-the-art technology. And as Minister for Higher Education and Research, well, space is still something that makes us dream. I remember that last year I had followed the launch on the 25th of December of the James Webb telescope, and we've seen incredible images of space since then, and we also learned so much, and we see that the launching conditions allowed for longer missions, which allowed us to learn more, and for training in education and research, this is of course crucial.
Thank you very much to the three of you. I'm sure we still have a lot to learn from space. Merci et félicitations au CNES, aux équipes ESA, Ariane Group.
Made this launch show tonight. We are very proud of you. Thank you, and see you next time. Back to you in Paris, Emma.
Thank you, Gregory, and congratulations to the Minister of Higher Education and Research of France, and to the President of CNES, and to the Minister of Overseas for having been with us tonight on Road to Space. The mission, guys, is sadly completed for tonight. All I can say is a lot of emotions tonight. It was a very wow night. Thank you, Raphael. Thank you, Mathieu, so much for being by my side. Congratulations to everyone at Arianespace, Ariane Group, European Space Agency, and at Europe Spaceport, Intelsat and Meteosat for making this launch happen. Good night, and thank you all for following us. Road to Space will, of course, be back for the next launch with more exclusive and exciting content. And remember, if you look at the stars in the coming days, we are building our future up there.